So we got to talk again, y'all. I know it feels like I always got like some bad news going on, but this is really just news. It's just information. I'd rather y'all be aware, and I know it's not always good, but we got to talk about this stuff. So today I want to talk about these 197 terms that are triggering reviews of NIH and NSF grant proposals. Let's talk about it. So first, we're going to have to discuss what the NIH and NSF are. Now, these are both federal agencies. The NIH stands for the National Institute of Health. Now, NIH grant is financial support granted to you by that federal institution. It's a primary U.S. government agency for biomedical and public health research. Now, that stuff is granted to organizations or individuals that conduct research or other projects that align with the NIH's mission. Now, the NSF is just like the NIH in that it's a government agency. The NSF stands for the National Science Foundation, and they grant financial support from the U.S. government just like the NHS does, whether you're an individual or organization trying to apply through the competitive processes that these agencies require. And this agency specifically funds research and education in all fields besides the ones in medical sciences, but they specialize in science and engineering. So now that we understand what the NIH and the NSF are, we can really talk about this. So right now, what we are seeing happen is the National Institute of Health is abruptly terminating millions of dollars in research awards to scientists in Massachusetts and around the country. Now, this is citing the Trump admin's new restrictions on funding anything related to DEI or transgender issues or research that could potentially benefit universities in China. What does that even mean? So that we have to talk about understanding what this actually means and what this looks like. There's a reason why these things are so vague. And I'm going to show you something that will help shed light on just how vague this is and why that is by design. So apparently, if you have the words women or female somewhere in your grant proposal to a federal agency like the NIH or the NSF, you got to be careful because your proposal can now get flagged for additional scrutiny. Now, they state that it's not exactly clear what might happen, whether your NSF or NIH proposal will get rejected or not, but your funding will be yanked or your work will be censored as a result if it is found that these conditions have been met. So this is a case where you've been better off using terms like those others or someone who told you to put the toilet seat down instead of women or female. Now, I have a list of, like I saw before, 197 different terms, and I want to go over a couple of them with you just to see how ridiculous this is. So I'll be attaching a link to this article here. This comes from Forbes. I figured that I would attach something that a lot of people may have neutral opinions about. You may not feel comfortable with the Washington Post or maybe an MSNBC article, but I feel like Forbes seems to have some bipartisan support as far as like people find it credible. So this one comes from Forbes magazine, and here's a list of the terms that can get your proposal flagged or rejected: activist, advocacy, advocate, advocates, all-inclusive, allyship. It continues: clean energy, climate crisis, climate science, community diversity, confirmation bias, discrimination, discriminatory, diverse, diverse backgrounds, diverse group, diverse community, expression, female, females, and feminism, of course. LGBTQ, marginalized, marginalized. This one made me laugh. Men who have sex with men. Mental health, minorities, minority. Reminder, these are terms that can get your proposal flagged or rejected. And finally, underprivileged, underrepresented, underserved, undervalued, victim, victims, vulnerable populations, women, and underrepresented. Now, need I remind you, these places are citing the Trump administration's new restrictions on funding anything related to diversity, equity, inclusion, and transgender issues, and research that could potentially benefit the universities of China. Like I said, this is crazy, y'all. So y'all have to understand that there is a concerted effort to silence you. These are efforts to censor your speech, whether it comes to academia or outside of academia. They don't want you talking about underrepresented communities, marginalized communities, women. They don't want you to be able to say women. These terms in these proposals can get your proposal flagged and rejected from funding from the federal government for you to continue to do research. This is unprecedented, y'all. This is real life. This is actually what's happening. But I figured I would want to explain those things for you. Now, if you looked at some of those terms and you feel like you're unfamiliar with them and you'd like me to do explainers on those videos, I have a full list of definitions that I want to go through on this page. And if you're interested in having your term explained, let me know in the comments. I appreciate y'all. Stay educated.